Okay, everybody, it is me, Gregory Mannarino. Just lovely. Tuesday, January 17th, 2023, post-market wrap-up. I want to cover, obviously, a bunch of things with you, but I really want to put a perspective on what's going on. I do that pretty much every day, but I'm talking about the grand plan here with regard to what is happening to the world today, the population of this planet, the distractions, the deceptions, the look here and the don't look here. You know the game if you follow this blog here. So I want to read a piece of work to you, and I want to ad lib to that. I do this about once a week. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a moment here. So let's just go back to the freak show stock market. A mixed day for the market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell about over 1%, about 390 points on Goldman Sachs taking a pretty big hit here. S&P 500 down fractionally, and a gain, believe it or not, for the NASDAQ. Okay, all this is well and good here. You know my take on this, and if you consider what I tell you pretty much every freaking day here, stop watching the market. Watch its drivers, okay? 10-year yield, U.S. dollar relative strength, the Mannarino market risk indicator, again, free to everybody on this planet. Link in the description of this video here. If they can keep the illusion real, okay, if they can make it seem real, should I say, that is, the debt market is stable, the relative strength of the dollar is also stable or weakening, and if they can prop up crude oil, nothing else matters. Nothing. The bad economic news could keep on coming. The global economy could literally stop, and the stock market would go higher. What did they do? They shut down the global economy, remember, with the whole, thing that was going around, and maybe still be new variants and new vaccines and everything else here. They shut it down and the stock market went higher. There's no connection whatsoever between what the economy is doing and what the stock market is doing. There's none anymore. It's all run by central banks. It's all managed by central banks. The world today is run by central banks who are successfully moving closer and closer and closer to their end game. Okay, you know what that is if you've been following this blog. To be the lenders and buyers of the last resort, to literally own the world with their product. I mean, they issue debt. That's all they do to the world. The world eats it up like it's candy, and they couldn't be happier about it. Central bankers, they're laughing their way into untold amounts of riches, wealth, resources, the controlling of human life, the disbursement of and propagation of information via every single mainstream media outlet. It's all directed, it's all scripted. None of it's real. It's all distractions, deceptions, lies, and more propaganda. We'll cover some more of that in just a moment here. Anyway, so on the back of this market today, whatever, okay, drivers of the market really aren't doing too much. The MMRI did come up a little bit today, a slight gain in the 10-year yield, a slight gain in the relative strength of the dollar, okay. No other real movement in anything else. Gold and silver fell under a little bit of pressure today. Bitcoin still over 21,000. Crude oil getting bid up. Okay, whatever. That's the current situation here. The bottom line here, and I think what you should take away from this particular video is very, very, very simple. These central banks must inflate more, much more, or die. So, being that you understand that the job of a government, and the central banks of the world are the government, is to survive at the cost of everything else, they're going to continue to inflate, and you're the one, and I'm the one, who are going to pay the price for it. You understand? This is the biggest charade, I think, honestly, being played on the people of the world right now. And I'll cover some of this in this piece that I want to read to you. And again, ad lib to it. Let's just get to that, really, honestly. This is a piece of work that I literally wrote just a little while ago. If you are a subscriber to my free newsletter, this right now is in your inbox. Okay, it's about a page and a half long here, and stuff like this to me is very important. And you have my permission to share it, print it, disperse it, do whatever you freaking want with this. Okay, I count on all of you to share my work, to get it out there, okay? And I've been putting out, like I said, pieces pretty much weekly like this. I post it in my newsletter, my free newsletter, and I want you to have this stuff. So make copies of it, do what you want with it. If you are not a subscriber to my free newsletter, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. Again, it's 100% free. There is a link in the description of this video, and you're going to get nice, cool, neat stuff like this in your inbox. All right, look, so let's let me expound on that theory here. Can you read the title? Yeah. I want to talk more about this. It really goes back to inflate or die, inflate more or die. So I've covered right here, we have discussed how central banks have literally declared war on the people of the world. Now, I've been pondering this a little more. And this is what I kind of came up with today. And like I said, I'm going to read this to you right now. So central banks have declared war on we, the people of the world. Now, so what's really going on here? Today, there exists a state of war between world central banks and the citizenry of the world. This central bank initiated state of war has been a methodically slow, progressive, ongoing movement, indeed for freaking decades. Freaking is not in there, but for decades, as these institutions have systematically and collectively destroyed the purchasing power of their respective currencies over the course of time. But today, this is accelerating at a staggering pace. Sounds about right to you? Yeah, I bet it does. In some respects, and this is something I've covered before, but I want to just do a little review, just a paragraph here. In some respects, one could argue, a person, maybe you, could argue that central banks are in a race to the bottom. I've said this many times with regard to their currency, to see which of these institutions can pull the purchasing power out of their respective currencies faster. Okay, I think you'd agree we're on the same page so far. But the truth is, central banks are working in concert, that means, together, to collectively devalue the overall currency pool. Now, overall currency pool here, I'm defining this as the overall central bank issued notes that are dispersed to the peoples of the world, the overall currency pool. And the more any central bank adds to that currency pool, the more diluted it becomes. You understand? We get more inflation. This is the root cause of inflation. This is it. Okay, you can listen to the mainstream propaganda. They're going to tell you a whole song and dance. But the truth is, it's this hyper ballooning currency issue. Global debt, currency being a unit of debt. All right, let us move forward here. Today, every manner of deceptive tactic and misinformation scheme is being utilized and instituted as propaganda by the mainstream media outlets in what seems to be a very effective campaign to convince people of blatant falsehoods. Can I please get a duh? Yeah, this is what's going on here. You and I get it, but most people don't. With reference to inflation, pay attention to this part, because we've discussed this before, but it's kind of laughable just covering it. With reference to inflation, the public was sold the temporary or transitory lie, which then evolved into several episodes of inflation is peaking. You remember all that? Oh, it's peaking. It's peaking again. Oh, no, it's peaking again. All right. When each of these narratives was proven to be 100% false, yet another term needed to be found and used. And today's catchphrase is disinflation, something I've been speaking a lot about lately. Disinflation is a term which is generally unfamiliar to most people. Disinflation, really? What the hell are they talking about? It's meant to be ambiguous, and most people aren't even going to look up the definition of this, all right? Anyway, disinflation is a term which is generally unfamiliar to the average person, now being utilized by design to keep people confused. Yeah, it's working. The definition of disinflation is a period of slowing the rate of inflation. Okay, here we go. The current disinflation narrative will, mark my words on this, be followed up by some other false storyline at one point as well. As central banks continue to inflate, understand central banks have no intention whatsoever to stop or even reverse inflation. Inflate more or die. Remember that. That's not in here. You know what? I'm going to let you read this part here yourself. Can you see this? The single greatest power of any central bank is their ability to inflate. When was the last time you heard that from any of the mainstream financial outlets here? And they will never surrender that power. The more debt a central bank issues or is called upon, to issue, the stronger they become. Let us move forward. I'm staying pretty calm so far. What central banks are currently involved in is a deliberate effort to crush the economy. And they are doing this by incrementally increasing pressure on the consumer. And you're seeing this by how they're incrementally raising rates. You understand? Very simple, very straightforward. As central banks continue on their mission to raise rates, this hurts demand by hurting the consumer. Okay, we're on the same page so far here? The fact that central banks, again, collectively have vastly, think about what I'm about to tell you, vastly overshot their inflation targets is no freaking accident. Let us move forward. Rapidly rising inflation has given central banks a major opportunity, and this is also by design. Central banks have been on a debt creation, debt issuance, debt buying binge ever since the last meltdown, the last financial meltdown, creating many trillions of central bank issued notes distributed to the world, addicted to a world addicted to easy money. Still on the same page? Okay. Central banks knew full well that what they were doing was setting up an environment where inflation would eventually run rampant. Absolutely. And that is exactly what we have today. Still on the same page? I bet we are. Central banks' war on the people of the world is still in its early stages. If you think this is going to end anytime soon, no, you have another thing coming. As continued pressure on the consumer will be increased in order for these institutions to solidify their position as the lenders and buyers of last resort. It's already that kind of situation. Why do you think debts and deficits are out of freaking control? Who makes up the difference here? Can I please get a duh? It's obviously borrowed from the central banks of the world. Since their inception, you know I'm going to tell you here, central banks have had one goal, to one day own the world. Now, this environment here of skyrocketing inflation, which they set up, are you trying to tell me, let me just ask you, is there one person out here, seriously, one, who believes that central banks had no idea that being that they were going to collectively vastly increase global debt, buy it all, quantitative easing 1, 2, Operation Twist, and everything else they're doing right now, that would not create inflation moving down the line? It was inevitable. You got all these bills, in whatever form they exist, now chasing a lesser amount of goods, because we just find out that factory activity continues to free fall, not just here, but around the freaking world. They can't stop it. You understand? It can't be stopped. And central banks, by raising rates, as we discussed from day one right here, said it wouldn't work. We left our rear ends off. Because we knew it wouldn't work. Okay, they want to do something about inflation. They need to contract the money supply. They won't contract the money supply because they must inflate more or die. And they're not going to die. They don't care if you die. They don't care if I die, your kids, your dog, your pet turtle dies or whatever. They don't give a shit about any of that. They will survive no matter what at the cost of anything. You understand? I hope you get all of this. I really, really do. And I really want to hear from you. Where do you think you're going to get information like this? Is there anyone else talking about this? I really hope that there is more. And I urge other YouTubers out here, use my work. You know, I know a lot of YouTubers subscribe to my free newsletter. Read this. Read the work that I put out. Make a copy and read it to your followers. Okay? You have my permission to share this. I want to get this information out, people. I really do. It's my number one goal, is to raise awareness. And that's where you come in. You know, share this stuff. You know, speaking about that, I did a recent interview with Stanberry Research. If you haven't seen it, I would strongly advise you to watch it. I'm going to place a link to that interview in the description of this video. A lot of important stuff here, people. A lot of really, really important stuff. All right, with that said, look, I want you to contemplate what we covered here. All right, I want to hear from you. I promise all of you that I read the comments. I read the comments. I sit here and I read through them. All right, and I know that the vast majority of you are on the same page. Okay, we see what's happening. We're not deaf, dumb, blind, dumbed down to the point of like we don't know how to walk and chew gum at the same time. We get it, and we, among those who get it, I really feel like it's our responsibility to try to get more people to understand what's happening to them. And it's not by accident. None of this. Understand? All right, look, I'm going to let you go. Kind of a long video. Watch that interview again down here. Stanberry Research. I think you're really going to enjoy it. This guy here, from the heart, loves all of you. We are a team. Okay? This is our thing, not just the Greg Mannarino freak show. You understand? I'll see all of you in the morning, okay?